In Delbanco's book, The Real American Dream, he explores the ideas of God, nation, and self. Delbanco uses these three ideas to explain the source in which we Americans seek hope. Puritan immigrants were the first people to seek this idea of hope through God when they arrived in New England. They felt they were chosen by God to fulfill a distinctive role in history. As more immigrants arrived and our country began to develop issues on a national level, the idea of nation became the new concept of hope for Americans. This is when the idea of American heroes came about. Some of these heroes are Presidents Abraham Lincoln and Franklin D. Roosevelt, as well as inventor Benjamin Franklin and civil rights activist Jackie Robinson. Following this period of immense growth in America, people began to find it more and more difficult to seek a cause in this world, simply because it seemed as if every development and accomplishment on the national level had been made. This is when Americans began to seek hope through the idea of themselves. Now back to God. When the Puritans arrived to the Americas in the Arbella ship, they developed the Massachusetts Bay Colony under the leadership of John Winthrop. They were the most prepared colony to come to the Americas and brought nearly 1,000 people. The Puritans had obligations under God's covenant. They agreed that since God gave them the Promised Land, otherwise known as America, they would give God obedience and fulfill John Winthrop's objective of creating a city on a hill. Winthrop's idea of a city on a hill meant that everyone would be watching the Puritans, and if they screwed up, people may look at God in a negative way because they were representing God. This put a ton of pressure on the Puritan community. As a result, Puritans lived with a lot of anxiety because they were constantly looking for positive and negative signs from God. Puritans sought hope through God in the sense that if they fulfilled His covenant, they would be saved, and the only way they would know if they were saved is if they saw signs of God's favor. Puritans felt that the self without God was helpless and pointless. During the early 1600s in America, God was the idea in which Americans sought hope. Following God was the idea of nation. As our country began to develop on a national level, people began to seek hope through the idea of our nation. The early to mid-1900s were a period of immense growth economically and population-wise for America. With this growth came a variety of national issues, one of these issues being universal rights. Though Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 freed slaves, it did not grant equality for blacks. It did start the trend of universal rights, though. Civil rights activists such as Martin Luther King and Jackie Robinson strived for equality during their lifetimes. They sought hope through the anticipation of bettering our nation. Lincoln breaking down the slavery barrier in America and beginning a movement of universal rights allowed these civil rights activists to no longer only dream of success in a melancholic way, but actually have real hope that one day people would no longer be divided. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in America by integrating Major League Baseball. Robinson received national recognition for doing so and reshaped the minds and attitudes of Americans during this era. People looked at Jackie Robinson as a national hero.
Left us. I was only 6 months older than you are now. I don't remember him. You will remember me.
Jackie Robinson, a black man in white baseball.
I want you to know I'm there for you.
In my heart.
Think about the abuse that he's gonna take.
Your enemy will be out in force, but you cannot meet him on his own low ground.
What you gonna do if one of these pictures goes through your head?
I'll duck.
Mark my words and circle this date. Negroes are gonna run the white man straight out of baseball.
This ain't the America I know. You hear me?
If they knew you, they would be ashamed.
If Robinson can help us win, then he is going to play on this ball club.
You don't belong here, and you never will.
Get off the field.
Brooklyn Dodgers ain't changing our way of living.
You're wearing me down.
You are not the only one with something at stake here.
You want a player who doesn't have the guts to fight back?
No, I want a player who's got the guts not to fight back.
You give me a uniform. You give me a number on my back. I'll give you the guts.
I father, I Brooklyn Dodger them. I jack, I rob, I sin. Oh man, I'm Jackie Robinson. Except when I run base, I dodge the pen.
I'm just a ball player. You a hero.
Why don't you look in the mirror? This is a white man's game. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. I'm a Brooklyn boy. I may take some getting used to.
Maybe tomorrow we'll all wear 42.
Heroes such as Jackie Robinson during this time period represented the ideals of our nation. According to Del Banco, during this developmental stage in America, people sought hope through nation. Jackie Robinson represents one of those iconic figures that represented the hope our nation provided for not only Black Americans but anyone striving to further improve our country. As many national developments and accomplishments were fulfilled, for example, universal rights, people began to seek hope through the idea of self. People became more focused on bettering themselves and establishing a better future. In the novel The Great Gatsby, Fitzgerald tells a story of a man named Jay Gatz who was living his life vicariously through the life he invented as a 17-year-old. Gatsby believed in creating a better future and lived his entire life thinking things would get better when in reality they did not. As Gatsby became rich, the only thing he needed was Daisy, the love of his life. Gatsby thinks that once he finds Daisy, their love will rekindle and she will leave her husband to be with Gatsby forever. Gatsby finally realizes Daisy has a life besides him. She has a child, a husband, and he finally sees that he is merely a piece of her past, and that is all. Throughout the novel, Gatsby seeks hope through the idea that he will one day live what he considers the American dream. Gatsby sees the green light ahead and gets so close that every time he almost has it, he takes a step back. Gatsby seeks hope through the idea of creating a better future and bettering himself. The ideas of God, nation, and self that Del Banco explores in his book, The Real American Dream, can be described as the ways in which Americans seek hope.